I was your average guy. Nothing special, really, just decent at studies, living a pretty normal university life. I stayed in the dorms like most students, but what wasn't so average about my life was my roommate. Galvin Clanes, university heartthrob, rich, tall, dangerously handsome, with jet black hair, sharp eyes that seemed to see through you, and a killer smile that could stop time. He had the face of a Greek god and the personality of a literal angel. Gentle, kind, and weirdly humble for someone who probably owned 5 sports cars. We've been roommates for a year now. And yeah, we're buddies. Just normal friends. Casual, chill, at least he thinks so. What he doesn't know is, I've had a crush on him for a while. I mean, how could I not? The guy treats people like they actually matter, listens when you talk, and always notices the little things. Like how I prefer strawberry milk over coffee. Or how I always lose at games and still try. He's just warm. But people say there's another side to him. A possessive, scary side. Rumor has it, if Galvin wants something, really wants it, he'll go to any lengths to get it. No matter how high or low he has to stoop. And if anyone so much as touches what's his, well, no one's ever seen that side and walked away the same. To be honest, I've never seen it either. To me, he's always been soft, playful, and kind. Living together has made us pretty close. He's always doing little things, buying my favorite snacks, saving me a spot in the cafeteria, even sharing his rewards when we win co-op games. Sometimes I feel like he spoils me more than a best friend should. Tonight was just another chill evening. We were gaming with our group online, trash talking and laughing like always. Midway through, someone suddenly suggested a hangout. Everyone agreed. Galvin looked at me with those puppy eyes. Rick, you're coming, right? I shook my head with a small smile. Nah, I'll pass. Not in the mood to get drunk tonight. He pouted a little, like a sulking child. I reached over and patted his shoulder. You go. I'll come and pick you up later, promise. He held my gaze for a second longer, then nodded. Later that night, I made my way to the bar. The music was loud, lights low, and the smell of alcohol heavy in the air. I spotted Galvin easily, sitting at a corner booth, surrounded by our mutual friends. His dark hair was messier than usual, and his shirt slightly rumpled. He was clearly drunk. As soon as I got there, the others smirked and stood up one by one. We'll leave him to you, one of them said, clapping my shoulder as they all disappeared way too conveniently. I sighed, sliding into the seat across from Galvin. I expected you to be a lot worse, I said, half teasing. At least you're still upright. He turned to me slowly, eyes half-lidded, a lazy smile spreading across his face. My heart flipped in my chest at the sight. That damn smile, but I forced my expression to stay casual. Then, without a word, he reached out. Fingertips brushed gently across my cheek, soft, deliberate, almost reverent. His touch felt warmer than usual, almost electric. What's going on with you? I asked, voice low. Galvin tilted his head, eyes fixed on mine like he was memorizing every detail of my face. His fingers traced from my cheek to behind my ear, then down my neck in a feather-like caress. My friends, he mumbled, lips close to my ear now, they gave me a dare. I froze. A dare? He nodded slightly, eyes glassy and locked on mine. To ask you out, he whispered, the words like a confession he'd been holding in too long. I blinked, stunned. Wait, what? Galvin pouted slightly, his hand sliding further, down to my collarbone, resting against my chest. They said we wouldn't last, that we're too different. I swallowed. My heart was racing, but I forced a calm smile onto my face. Well, they wouldn't know unless we tried, right? I said, we'd have to actually date first to figure out if we'd last or not. His eyes widened, the dazed look breaking for a second as he sat up straighter. Wait, you mean, yeah, I nodded, watching him closely. Let's date. If you don't mind giving it a try, I don't either. I didn't want to overthink. I just wanted to take the chance, maybe this crush of mine wasn't as hopeless as I thought. You don't mind, do you? I didn't get to finish. He leaned forward and kissed me. It wasn't sloppy or clumsy, it was firm, hot, and so full of longing that my breath caught. The world around us blurred and disappeared. It was just him and me, the heat between us crackling like fire. When we finally pulled away, a thin string of saliva connected our lips. His gaze was heavy, pupils blown wide. Can we, he breathed, licking his lips, voice laced with desperate hope, can we continue, back at the dorm? I gave a small smile. We can. And just like that, the drunken haze in his body vanished. He gripped my wrist, gentle, but firm, and pulled me up as we slipped out of the bar together, disappearing into the night. The door slammed shut behind us. My back hit the wall, but before it could hurt, his hand slipped behind my head, shielding me with a soft yet protective grip. Then his lips crashed into mine. The world vanished. No noise, no thoughts. Just us. The room was dark, empty, silent, except for the wet, messy sound of our kisses echoing around us. My fingers tangled in his hair as he kissed me deeper, harder, his tongue claiming mine. It felt like he was stealing the breath straight from my lungs, and I didn't care. When he finally broke the kiss, he cupped my face with both hands. His eyes lingered on my swollen lips, then met my gaze with a hint of hesitation. "Are you sure we can? Just do whatever you want," I whispered, voice trembling, "don't hold back." He didn't need another word. I wrapped my arms around his neck and pulled him in for another kiss, this time harder, hungrier. He groaned into my mouth, gripping my waist before effortlessly lifting me up. My legs locked around his waist as we kissed desperately, heat pulsing between us. He walked us to the bed, our bunk bed, and tried to lay me down carefully. But my head bumped the upper bunk, making me yelp against his lips. "Shit. I'm sorry," he murmured, pulling back to look at me, worry clouding his face. "It's okay," I whispered, reaching for his shirt. "I'm fine. Just keep going." His eyes darkened again, hunger overtaking worry as he kissed me deeply. His hands roamed slowly, exploring every inch of me like he was trying to memorize the shape of my body. Each touch was gentle, careful, reverent, and yet left me burning. I never thought I'd feel something like this in my life. Not with someone I liked. Not like this. Every touch, every gesture, it all felt too perfect. He was so caring, so focused on me. His lips brushed over my skin like he worshipped it. And yeah, it was slightly annoying how often he kept asking if I was okay, but somehow, that made it even better. It showed me how much he cared. It made everything feel more real. I didn't want it to stop. I didn't want this night to end. Maybe it had started as a dare. But he wouldn't go this far just for a joke, would he? If he wants to try, then I'll give it a chance, too. And maybe, just maybe, I can make him fall for me in return. Because I already know I'm falling deeper with every kiss. The next morning, I woke up with a jolt, only to slam my head into the ceiling of the top bunk. Again. Ow, it hurts, I groaned, rubbing my forehead with a wince. I always hid my head up here. That's exactly why I'd taken the top bunk, to suffer, apparently. Then it hit me. No, not the ceiling, the memory. My face turned red as I felt the soreness in my back. My heart stuttered when I realized something even more shocking. An arm was wrapped around my bare waist under the blanket. Galvin. He was curled up beside me, face buried in the pillow like he was trying to disappear. "You're not fooling anyone. Wake up," I mumbled, tugging the pillow away from him. He peeked up at me, his sleepy eyes warm and teasing. "Does it hurt?" "Yes," I grumbled, rubbing my head, but the look in his eyes and that sly smirk on his lips made me pause. He wasn't talking about my head. My face flushed deeper. I looked away quickly. "Do you even remember last night?" He sat up beside me, blanket slipping down his chest, and nodded confidently. "Of course I do. Why, are you taking back what you said about dating?" He sounded like a puppy on the verge of being denied a treat. It made my heart ache a little. I looked at him, studying his expression. "No, not unless you want me to." He blinked, then grinned. "Good, then forget it. We're not stopping what we started. I'm loving every second of this." He paused, clearing his throat awkwardly. "I mean, we have to do it for the dare, right? Gotta prove them wrong," he added, scratching the back of his head. I bit back a smile, then finally let it out. "Okay," I said softly. "I don't mind either. Honestly, I think I'm loving this too." Leaning in, I gave him a light kiss on the lips before grabbing my hoodie. As I slipped it over my head and padded toward the bathroom, I caught a glimpse of Galvin behind me. Still sitting on the bed, lips parted, eyes wide, face red as a cherry. Then came a small squeal, like a schoolgirl in love, as he flopped back on the bed, burying his face in the pillow again, clearly reliving every second of the night. "Yeah, I think this is going to be interesting." After freshening up, we both got ready for class. We're keeping it low, okay? I reminded him as I slung my bag over one shoulder. He nodded, adjusting his bag, but his eyes didn't leave me for a second. I just bent to tie my shoes when he suddenly stepped forward and stopped me. "Let me do it for you," he said gently, already crouching in front of me. My breath hitched as I watched him tie the laces with focused care. "You didn't have to. I could do it myself," I mumbled, flustered. "I wanted to," he said with a soft smile, then leaned in without warning, kissing me, fierce and certain. I kissed him back, lips moving in perfect sync, like we belonged there. "Okay, now let's go," I whispered, gently pushing him away with a small laugh. He nodded like a good boy. Classes went by as usual, except now, instead of sneaky glances, Galvin stared openly, chin resting on his palm, eyes never leaving me. He let our legs touch deliberately, fingers brushing, accidentally, every chance he got. And every time our skin met, he smiled like a lovesick fool. Honestly, this felt like first love. And I was enjoying every second of it. "Did you even focus on anything in class?" I asked, shutting my book and raising an eyebrow. "Nope, you'll have to teach me later," he grinned, hand slipping under the table to rest on my thigh. I glared and pushed it off quickly when someone approached. "Hey Rick, I didn't catch much of the lecture. Can I borrow your notes?" the classmate asked. It was normal. We always shared notes, but before I could respond, Galvin beat me to it, smiling, though something about his tone sent chills. "He can't. He's sharing with me," he said casually. "Oh, then maybe after you're done." "I'm slow at note-taking," Galvin cut him off, voice still calm but clearly darker. "It might take me a while. Don't want to make you wait. Maybe ask someone else." The classmate blinked, awkwardly nodded, and walked away. I stared at Galvin. What was that? His shoulders finally relaxed, the tension fading as he looked at me again, his gaze back to soft, warm. I didn't have the right before, but now that we're dating, I do. "Right to what?" I asked, confused. He leaned closer, lips brushing the shell of my ear. "Keep others away from you," he whispered, low and smooth. "Now that you're mine, just know I don't share." That smile he gave me, it wasn't sweet. It was possessive, and intense. Everything I'd heard in the rumors suddenly made sense. And yet, why did that make my heart race in the best way possible? I smiled, small but certain, and nodded. The next class was literature, and as usual, Galvin sat beside me. His foot tapped impatiently as he stared at the boy sitting 2 seats away, who kept glancing at me every few minutes. I noticed, but I didn't say anything. I should've. Halfway through the class, during a break, that same guy, Evan, I think, came over to me with a crooked smile. "Hey Rick," he said, leaning a little too close. "You dropped this earlier." He handed me a pen. "It wasn't mine." Thanks, but that's not." "You sure? Maybe I should help you search for your stuff more often," he winked. I blinked. Okay, no, that was too obvious. Before I could even respond, Galvin's hand landed firmly on my shoulder. He didn't say a word, just stood behind me with that same calm smile he used earlier. But his grip tightened slightly, and his eyes, cold, sharp, almost murderous. "He already has everything he needs," Galvin said, his voice soft but laced with a very clear warning. "Including someone to pick up pens for him." Evan blinked. Right. He backed off quickly, muttering something under his breath as he returned to his seat. "Was that necessary?" I whispered, glancing up at Galvin. "You tell me," he replied simply. "Did you want him to flirt with you?" I rolled my eyes. "Of course not." He leaned closer again, lips brushing against my ear with that terrifyingly sweet tone. "Then let me make something clear. If anyone ever tries something like that again, they'll regret even looking your way." A shiver ran down my spine, not from fear, but from the intensity. I looked at him and whispered with a small grin, "Is this what dating you is like?" His eyes met mine, dark and warm. "This is what loving you is like." And just like that, he sat beside me again like nothing happened, casually flipping open his book, but his hand slipped into mine under the table. After classes, I made my way to the library to pick up a few books I needed for an assignment. Galvin had offered to come along, but just as we were about to leave, he suddenly remembered some work he needed to do and mentioned going back to the dorm. I didn't think much of it, just nodded, and told him I'd see him later. The walk to the dorms was quiet, but when I arrived, I was taken aback by the sight of 2 people leaving the dorm with their bags and belongings packed up. I frowned, confused, and walked in, wondering what was going on. What greeted me inside was even more unexpected. The entire dorm room had been rearranged. The sharp corners of the bunk beds were now covered with soft padding, even the ceiling above the bottom bunk was shielded with foam padding. What happened? I asked, stepping inside, bewildered. Galvin was sitting on the bottom bunk, looking pleased with himself, a smile tugging at his lips. He stood up and walked over to me, his arms wrapping around my waist in a back hug as he kissed my neck gently. "Nothing much," called the dorm maintenance team. "They said it's the first time anyone ever requested to pad a bunk bed like this," he said softly, his voice warm with affection. "Since from now on, it'll be normal for you to sleep with me, I can't let you keep hitting your head every time you wake up with me." His words took a second to sink in, and then warmth filled me. I smiled, feeling a sudden rush of affection toward him. I leaned back against him, letting him kiss my neck and shoulders as much as he wanted. "Thanks," I whispered, my heart skipping a beat at his thoughtfulness. "I'm not used to this, but I like it." His arms tightened around me, and he nuzzled my neck. "I'll always take care of you," he murmured. "Always." I smiled to myself, my chest swelling with happiness. This felt so right, and I couldn't help but feel like everything had changed. No more distance, no more holding back. This was real, and it was just the beginning. "You're scary sometimes, you know that," I teased, feeling his touches possessive. He just smiled, pressing our foreheads together. "But not to you." I kissed him softly, arms sliding around his neck. "Good, because I kinda love this scary version of you," I whispered as his hands sliding down to my waist, pulling me closer. I could feel his heartbeat quicken as his lips found mine again, this time more desperate, more urgent. His kiss was fierce, demanding, as if he couldn't get enough of me, and I didn't want him to stop. My hands roamed to his chest, feeling the heat of his skin through his shirt, my fingers trembling as they traced the lines of his muscles. He groaned against my lips, low and rough, his grip on my waist tightening as he deepened the kiss. I was drowning in him, in the way his mouth moved against mine with such hunger. He didn't hold back, his tongue slid past my lips, tasting me, exploring me like he needed to claim every part of me. My head spun, my body reacting to the intensity of his touch. When I pulled away for air, he didn't let me go far. His lips trailed down to my neck, kissing, nibbling, sending shivers through my body. I gasped, my fingers threading through his hair, tugging him closer, wanting more. And giving in whatever he wanted. Soon, like that, we didn't even realize how fast time had passed. Almost 3 months had flown by since we started dating. Galvin had proven again and again how much he cared. Whether it was making sure I was comfortable, leaving little notes on my pillow when he left early, holding my hand even when we were just watching TV, or checking up on me after a long day, his care wasn't flashy, but it was constant. Unwavering. And yet, sometimes, I felt overwhelmed. Not in a bad way. It was just heavy. Heavy in the way love is when someone gives it to you so fiercely and without hesitation. I often found myself wondering, did I even deserve this? Deserve him? Galvin was all the things people dream about: sweet, thoughtful, protective, loyal, and I was just me. I was mid-thought when a loud crash jolted me back to reality. Right, the cafe. We were on a casual date, just grabbing coffee and some snacks. Nothing fancy. We had just ordered when some guy behind us decided it was okay to get a little too close to me. Handsy. Gross. Galvin had looked ready to go feral, but I quickly tugged at his hand and pulled him away, whispering for him to let it go. I didn't want a scene. Not in public. But then that guy just had to start running his mouth, whispering insults and ugly words under his breath like a coward. Galvin snapped. He didn't even speak, just rushed back and landed a punch straight to the guy's face, loud and clean. Everyone in the cafe froze. A waitress dropped an entire tray in shock, food and drinks crashing everywhere. Seriously, Galvin, stop, I warned. Sharply, and as always, he listened. Instantly, he backed off, breathing heavy, fists clenched, but he listened. But I knew that wasn't the end of it. He took my hand and pulled me out of the cafe, dialing someone on his phone with a tone that sent shivers down my spine. "I'm sending you an address. Hurry up and take care of it," he said into the phone, voice low and terrifyingly calm. "Galvin," I warned again, "don't hurt him." He looked at me with those soft eyes and smiled proudly, as if he'd done something right. "I didn't. I listened to you, didn't I?" he said sweetly, holding my hand tighter. Just then, a sleek black car pulled up. 3 men in suits rushed inside the cafe without even looking at us. "What the actual?" I muttered, but Galvin turned me around, blocking my view like it was nothing. Like he didn't just casually summon the mafia-looking peoples to handle some creep. I let him lead me away, wondering how exactly I got here, dating the sweetest, softest guy with the most terrifying hidden edge. And from that day forward, I knew. The rumors were not exaggerated. Galvin was a high-tempered, protective, possessive freak, well, only when it came to me. Now I wasn't sure if I should be proud, or absolutely terrified. Maybe a little of both. Another week passed, and people had practically stopped approaching me altogether, thanks to Galvin's absolute, unapologetic possessiveness. But honestly, I didn't mind, not really. It was a hot, lazy afternoon. We were sitting in the dull library, the kind of quiet that makes you sleepy. Outside, the sky had already begun to darken, clouds gathering as if they were bored too. I tugged off my hoodie a little, fanning myself with a book, annoyed by the heat. When I looked up, I caught Galvin staring at me. Again, and not just a casual glance, no, it was that look. That look like he was starving and I was dessert. "Stop looking at me like that," I muttered, trying to act nonchalant as if my face wasn't burning and my ears weren't glowing red. "What look?" he asked, all innocent with that goddamn smile. "The one that says you want to eat me alive," I grumbled, gathering my books and standing up so fast I nearly dropped one. And then I did what any normal person would do, I ran. Yeah, I ran straight to the dorm like some flustered, dramatic idiot. I was fumbling with the doorknob when a hand slammed against the door just beside my head. I froze, breath hitching as I felt his hot breath graze the back of my neck. Galvin leaned in slowly, gently moving my hand aside to open the door. "Why are you running away?" he whispered, twisting the knob. "You're too much," I whispered back, stepping inside quickly. But of course, he followed, locked the door behind us, and wrapped his arms around me like he couldn't go a second without touching me. His lips immediately found my neck. I tried to push him off, lightly. "I'm sweating. I don't care. You still taste addictive," he whispered, his tongue flicking teasingly over my skin. I sighed, defeated, letting him lead me to the bed, where he gently laid me down. The room was dim, lit only by faint light from the window. Our breaths filled the space, deep, shaky, wanting. His hands roamed my body like he'd memorized every inch, lips leaving trails of heat wherever they touched. Whimpers escaped my lips as he kissed me again and again, and just when I was about to lose myself in it completely, I remembered the one thing I still didn't know. The one thing that sat in the corner of my heart like a shadow. I gently pushed him back, just a little, enough to look into his eyes. "We'll continue," I said softly, voice husky from everything, "only if you answer me honestly." His hands were still caressing my thighs, his eyes heavy with desire, but locked onto mine with focus. "What is it?" he asked, voice low, desperate, breath hot against my cheek. I bit my lip. "I just want to make it clear, is it still all about the dare?" He blinked, and for a second, I saw something change in his eyes. Then a low chuckle left his lips as he reached up to cradle my face. "The dare was fake," he admitted. "I just needed an excuse to ask you out. I've been in love with you for a long time, Rick. I just didn't think I had the courage to tell you without a stupid reason." His words trailed off, nervous now, like he feared what I'd say. I stared at him, silent, and then I smiled. "You idiot, you didn't need an excuse." He blinked at me for a beat, then broke into the biggest smile I'd ever seen on him. "Who knew a little fake dare would give me such a perfect chance?" he whispered against my lips. I grinned, tugged him closer, and kissed him. Deep, warm, real. And he kissed me back like he'd been waiting his whole life for it. So did I.